some of this off. Because I kind of want this to be almost flat. Oops. So we're starting to shrink the brim a little bit, thin the brim a little bit, at the same time rounding the snowman head. Actually, I'm going to leave the brim a little bit here before I'm going to start getting into the snowman head. Snowman head tucks underneath the hat. Don't do any undercutting yet, just straight down. We're also getting the saw marks out of there. Oops, because I hate that snapping sound in here. If I were to keep them, just what would happen if I do this? I keep that little scoop I got there. Yeah, if you find a scoop like this as you're cutting, you might want to leave it in there to put the imperfection of it. So we're rounding the the head. At the same time, we may come across something that we may like to put in. Now this one, it's almost straight and comes down. I want to use that. So look at something that might be a funny anomaly. In fact, I might end up twisting just a little bit. If I twist a little bit up a little bit this way, then I can put this down just a little bit right here, while taking some of the saw marks out. Putting a nice imperfection into the brim. Okay, let's do let me just fix it a little bit, do this a little bit, and we'll do a little catch up here. I'll let you catch up. Sort of like this is what we got so far. Let me clean that up there, okay. All right, I'll give you let's just stop right now. Or I'll stop, this is what we got so far. Just got the top of the head. The head is looking good already. How does yours look? Okay. I was thinking we could start in on the bottom of the head. Now what I want the head I'm trying to go for here is sort of this, I would say almost a teardrop kind of a head. Not perfectly round, so it's kind of thinner on the top and wider at the bottom because he's got wider cheeks. So I want to keep that in mind while I do this. I'm thinking that hopefully I can get that curve in there. So let's do that. I'm going to put the curve in later. I think the curve is not going to work out. I think it has to be done as a final here. Okay, this way we're going to, oops, I forgot this one here. Okay, now this, remember the bottom is going to be wider. And don't worry too much about the scarf. That's gonna be thinned out too, Because what you want to do is, since I wanted the head to be thinner, so this is going to kind of tuck under like this. So at the same time that we're rounding this, taking the saw marks off, keep rounding, keep rounding. And we'll get exactly what we want near the end when we're doing all of our adjustments. Our final adjustments. Here we're still kind of in the, just taking wood off and taking the saw marks out kind of a thing. And I want to keep rounding it. I don't want this to be square. So I'm going to put the roundness. All right, now we'll do the, now that we got the bottom of the head going, let's kind of bring this up a little bit. In other words, the top thinner with the bottom. Ooh. And at the same time, if we are getting comfortable with how the head looks on top, we can begin to do undercut like this. Nice undercutting in there. And also taking the chips out. Now I want to look at shape 1/4 of the head. Make sure it looks kind of wide at the bottom, narrow at the top, or narrower. While putting it down, have to be doing some more cleanup there. Same with this side. Let's get some undercutting in. We'll clean later, but sometimes I'd see something that just kind of bugs me. I want to get that out of there. See how the head is starting to look kind of almost like a teardrop shape kind of a thing? Now here's some real heavy undercutting here. Now you could use a chisel anytime, especially if you're a chisel person, you know. But I'm okay with the knife here for right now. And be careful how you pry the wood out of there, because you might take something off more than you want in your carving, or you may take the tip of your knife off. Oops. A little more, yeah, here. Now the back of the ornament is, there's not too much, there'll be undercutting, but it's not going to be as open as this. It's going to be more closer to the head. I'm going to have to dig in here. Keep digging up. Be careful you don't keep that knife going and hitting your hand. Or, as I always say, for me, worse, it will put a nice gash, unrecoverable gash in your wood carving. And the reason why I say that's worse is because, well, cuts will heal, but if you cut too much off, and then it's kind of maybe not a very sensible way of putting that. Okay. Okay, so he is, I want to say that hat and the head is relatively roughed out. I mean, we'll be coming back, especially, I'm still a little square up there, but I want to kind of move on a little bit. But before we get to the top part of the scarf, we want to tuck, well, here, let's round it just a little bit. We'll round this a little bit because we want to tuck this underneath, this part of the scarf underneath. So I'll just start rounding it a little bit. Get some of the saw marks out of there. We still want to keep this thick, the scarf. We don't want to get too close. I think we'll still be doing some more that tucking like we did here. We're going to be doing here. Now we'll square this, round this a little later, and it's still a little square, but I just want to just round it a little bit because we'll be coming back to that. But I want to, now here's what I want to do is I want to, and we're going to lose some of that. We kind of round this a little bit here, not round it, but take some of this off. And then we'll probably lose some of the that marking we just did, but we'll come back to it. Just enough. Take the saw marks off. And now the reason why it's thick is we're going to do a lot of bending. We're going to bend that wood to do all kinds of things. So I might want to take the saw marks off right now just to, well, maybe we don't need to because once we thin it, we're going to be thinning it more. Maybe we should, well, while I'm doing it, might as well do it, but I'm going to stop doing the saw marks because it's going to, we're going to do all kinds of, as you can see, all kinds of bending and shaping and weird things to it. But we still want to put this in because we want to separate it. I'm going to start at the base here. Clean it just a little bit here. And we're going to do a nice hefty stop cut. I would like to have this, now this is going to be forward, just like this back, this one will be forward in the back. And we'll take a good chunk out of there. Go past the stop cut. finger out of the way. And then we'll take, I'm going to make sure it's cleaned up a little bit, just a little bit. Okay, now this is going to take a big scoop. Like this. And if you got a big chisel to do that, go ahead. There's a scoop there like that. This way, this one is actually going to come down. Better be careful. Am I still in? And it depends on how much bend you want to put on these things. Because what I'm going to do here is put just a little bit of bend here and kind of have it like it's going to come back up again, like it's doing here. Again, you can stop and use a chisel. Now come back again. I want this to be deeper. Again, sorry for this being a fast-paced video. Just want to get it all in. I was hoping a decent carving. And instead of having to spend the whole day or the class. Now this one I'm going to have it bent a little bit this way. I can get that out of there. Okay, I think it's getting almost the way I want it in the front. Okay, so what we're going to do is what you see here is we're going to thin things out over here. So again, we start with this really deep stop cut. Now this one is going to tuck underneath. This piece is going to tuck way underneath. Now the thing is, we're not going to thin this out too much to the point where, I mean, it's okay to be thick, but the thing is we don't want it to be too thin so it will it'll break on you. So we just want to kind of give it this, we'll twist it, in which is we'll still have this point. We'll still have a sharp point even though it's still thick in the center, so it'll give it strength. And we can use a chisel to get, I don't think we still use, can we still use it? No, I can't use a knife. Can you see that? So I'm using a wide tool, wide number 5, sort of almost as the working as a large number 9. So I'm kind of almost like a V